Libra, this is your May 2022 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, this is a reading for you. All my readings are general, but we're going to give you some astrological dates and intuitive messages to help you navigate the next few weeks. So we're going to be into Taurus energy, and we are opening up May's reading for you, Libra, with the Six of Cups. So a little bit awash with nostalgia here, and of course we do have a Mercury retrograde coming up on the 10th of the month in Gemini, so you will be feeling that in the shadow period right from the beginning of the month. Every moment holds an answer. Perhaps it's not to the question that we're asking, so I suppose what we need to do is address what is it that we're being told, what do we need to actually hear from the universe, from ourselves in this moment in time. So really tune in and pay attention. That's something that I want you to keep close as you move through this first part of the month, because in 8th house energy of Taurus season, there's quiet revolutions taking place beneath the surface, behind closed doors, in secret. You know, these are moments of intensity, of real depth, and they hold significant meaning. And nobody else may be able to make sense of exactly what it is that you're going through or what you're experiencing right now, nor are they meant to, because the answers that you're receiving are very specific to you, Libra. They matter in connection to your journey. And so from that, it feels to me that we are having to kind of almost trace back, return to specific moments in time, experiences, memories, and we're sort of unraveling things. And from that, there's a heightened state of awareness and a new understanding that's emerging for you. You have a real mission, I think, that's coming through this month, Libra, and it's going to require some very specific adjustments in your life. And it's not the time for you to have doubts. It's not the time for you to start second guessing yourself. You have to keep forging ahead. We have the energy of justice coming in. And as we enter eclipse season, we are, of course, dealing with very strong karmic contracts and the cause and effect of situations. There's something about the way that you're balancing things out from the past, helping to make sense of what happened and how it's changed you, because the context is important to help you sort of prepare for what's coming next. Now, there is a sort of feeling of flexing up and having to reshuffle or put things in order through the course of May. That's going to be really important. A lot will be coming to a head, and there may be those moments where we feel like we're getting a bit of a shock to the system, because, you know, eclipses, of course, can bring in sudden news and trajectory shifts for us. We also have a lot of personal planets moving into Aries energy, Venus from the 2nd of the month. So there's assertiveness and a passion and a desire to be free-spirited and independent here. And so that justice is sort of trying to maintain the balance and keep the equilibrium. And yet I think there will be emotions sort of spilling out, and this desire to want to get moving and to get going with things. We also have in the first week of May some auspicious astrology dates. So we've got Jupiter sextile to Pluto on the 3rd, and then the annual conjunction between the Sun and Uranus. So here we're getting to really witness some positive energy to help us have significant breakthroughs. I like that justice shows up around this for you, because it does feel that you come out on top in regards to something. Now we've got the Queen of Cups here, and I think that there's a passive energy that she's inviting you to connect and align with here. So we're not trying to force anything, and you may feel very impulsive with that Aryan flow in Venus. And remember, we have a lot of emphasis during the month of May for you, Libra, in and around your money house and value and your sense of stability and security, because we also have the lunar eclipse taking place in the sign of Scorpio, which lights up your 2nd house of value. So that comes in at 25 degrees and has some really positive aspects, because we are going to be guided in faith from a very high spiritual perspective. But remember, it's about release and what we need to let go of. Your Queen of Cups is holding the cup and illuminating the full moon there. And her eyes are closed in this sense of like, I have to go within. I have to really listen to what this moment is telling me, even if, like we said, it's not necessarily the question that I've been asking. You know, sometimes there is a right time to hear the right answer, and there's something particularly around that full moon, so pay attention, coming up to the 15th of the month, that you need to address, and it's going to align with what you've been feeling intuitively, instinctively anyway. Now, the other big news this month is that Jupiter is shifting out of Pisces and into Aries on the 10th, and it's going to be there till October 28th before it dips back into Pisces and then remains back in Aries in 2023. So you'll get a little bit of a heads up as to what's coming for you in relation to that. And of course, that's going to be 7th house for you. So there may be some profound shifts and changes that are going to be taking place. And, you know, you'll start to see the seeds of that or the evidence of that showing up for you. But again, in Aries energy, we sort of act now, think later, you know. So we all have to be accountable for the choices and decisions that we make. But remember, Libra, you know, you're only ever going to be with this version of yourself once in this exact moment that you're in. And so we want you to enjoy it. It's perhaps, I think, the soul lesson of a lifetime to say that right now what they're trying to do is to support you in being able to react to nothing and at the same time stay connected to everything. So the 9 of Wands shows the exhaustion and connection to that, because with the best will in the world, you know, in our own space, when we're behind closed doors or we're hanging out in an environment that really feeds and nourishes and supports us, it's really easy to be that way, you know, unaffected by things. But the minute that we come into that experience of being triggered by someone or something, then we have those hot-headed emotional responses. So if this is a lesson for us, and every moment has an answer, but perhaps not to the question that we're asking, it really does define May as being an important time for you. And the 9 of Wands says, persevere, keep going, keep pushing through. In fact, keeping going, keep becoming, keep evolving, keep checking in with yourself. Like, this month really matters, because in Taurus season, 8th house energy for you, there's a rebirth taking place, but it's an intense one. It can feel uncomfortable. And it's one of those things where sometimes we burn things to the ground so that we can rebuild and rebuild them with a greater sense of stability. And of course, eclipses will serve to kind of further strengthen that theme and idea of deconstruction. Plus, Pluto went retrograde at the end of April. So a lot of themes around your sense of personal power are also going to be highlighted. And justice suggests there'll be situations where you feel disempowered and you feel like things are unfair, but on the whole, what we're looking at here, especially as the 10 of Cups sits beneath it, that what is taking place in relation to your personal emotional contentment and happiness, what you've put on the line, what matters most to you, that's what's hanging in the balance here. But is it ever truly hanging in the balance? Do we always have an opportunity actually to really just determine for ourselves what we choose to take on, what we choose to absorb, what we choose to accept as a version of reality? There is I suppose, like a sense of May being one of these seasons where a clear rejection or a firm no, it's almost more liberating and less wasteful of your time than a fake or kind of a forced promise. And so in relation to how you are connecting and communicating with people, or how they are with you, keep that in mind. And remember, the retrograde in Gemini is really going to cause a little bit of lost in translation, you know, confusion and haze in regards to some of our dealings with people. But it's also a very beautiful experience for, again, being able to reconnect to our own essence and having a real surge of creativity that's very future focused and orientated towards building bridges. Sometimes the solutions that we come up with for ourselves, you know, are really nothing more than a way for us to try to feel safe. And so I think what's going to be taking place this month in many aspects of your life is a challenge of those solutions that you're heralding as successful and wonderful, and wasn't that a great way forward, when in actual fact it was really just helping you to stay small and covered and dim your light and not challenge yourself. And the Knight of Pentacles says, yes, that can be slow and steady progress, and we want that stability, because things are already in such a state of discord and chaos. But I feel like this is also the month that we want to be going out on a limb. This is also the month that we want to seek a completely different approach and a whole new way, because in that discomfort is where something really special and exceptional lies for you. And I think you will be in a little bit of conflict with yourself over that, because I feel like that's going to be the nudge and the constant answer that you keep being given, and yet your natural tendency is just going to want to default back into something that just feels a little bit more safe and stable for you. So we're going to be working with this Aries energy with the personal planets, Venus in Aries, Jupiter in Aries, and then Mars moves into the sign on the 24th. Of course, it's ruler, and so it loves to be in this position. And so you are going to have the determination, the passion, the motivation to get things done, but it can also bring about a lot of frustration. Where we have this energy of the Two of Cups showing up, this might be highlighted in either close relationships, romantically, professionally, what you've been devoting or what you want to devote your time, energy and attention to, the way you've been taking care of yourself. I think you're definitely going to get a little bit of a knock at the door if there's been some neglect of your own energy levels and your self-care in some regards, remember that Taurus season and Aries energy, through this season is really bringing us back into the body with a bump. And so after working with the Piscean vibe for so long, it can feel a little bit like a rude awakening, a sudden shock to the nervous system, and it's not helped with the eclipse energies either. So, you might be experiencing that in relationships, just like a kind of a bit of a bumpy road, not helped with the retrograde either, where there's sort of just language barriers. It almost just feels like, you thought you were on the same page, and all of a sudden, everything just feels like it's got sort of scrambled a little bit. Again, this is going to be an invitation to really look and consider whether some of the approaches, the solutions, the things that you're saying are actually a little bit rooted in how you always used to do them. You've just tried to kind of put a fresh coat of paint over it and pretended that it's changed, when actually it's kind of more of the same. So it's a bit of a deep soul searching question, and I know it's uncomfortable, but you do have these very revolutionary energies in the 8th house that really bring about, those difficult, taboo, shadow aspects of the self. And remember, you're also looking at shared resources, you're looking at, shared money, where you're really dealing with personal power and influence, the power of others, and how they're influencing, supporting you or hindering you, holding you back. So all of this is getting sort of brought up for you to be dealing with through the course of May. So for Libra, I feel like it's quite a profound month, a little bit complex in the way that you're being invited to address things, but ultimately it can be deeply cathartic. And actually, in many regards, I see a tremendous amount of progress coming through for you. And with that 10 of Cups sitting right in the centre of your reading, I have a sense that, when we really address what the stakes are and what's on the line, you end up making the right choices and decisions for not just yourself and where you are right now, but actually in looking ahead and knowing what's going to continue to give you kind of oxygen and space to breathe. Your 3 of Cups comes in as a celebration, actually, and something, that might be announced. So for some of you, there could be some surprise shocks that are coming from partners or friendships, different situations that you were a part of. You yourself might be the one that's delivering kind of some surprising news, but it definitely feels like, there is a group. I feel there is a nice little pocket of energy that is incredibly supportive and happy for what's unfolding at this time for you. And it doesn't matter how small that party is. I want you to keep aligned with that vibrational energy, because for sure there'll be a few others where the feathers are ruffled, and you know, even though they're saying one thing, you kind of pick up a little bit of a different vibe beneath the surface. But remember, this is a month for you where justice is coming through very strongly. So karmically speaking, a lot of things that you might have waited for a very long time, and people might observe and look at you and say, wow, it's come so quick, or you know, how did they manage to get all of that without, you know, looking like they'd done much for it. And yet behind the scenes, you know, no one is ever truly walking in your shoes or understands the journey that it's taken and what you've overcome to get to this point. So this mission that's coming up for you, I feel it can be all consuming, and however it's sort of transpiring for you, even if it's about a decision or a choice that you make to completely change yourself or reinvent yourself, or there's some new idea or inspiration that's carrying you forward. You know, the 9th house energy of Gemini season is particularly profound, and I think that you are just really questioning a lot of things that you have held as true, and you are deciding that there are new standards that you want to bring in for yourself in terms of how you want to show up in this world. And the thing to remember is, regardless of how you see yourself, Libra, yeah, the world never truly validates it, you know. So if you can find freedom in this, if you can accept that people will never truly back up, you know, every single thing that you think you are, that you're expressing, or what your intention was behind it, that's really liberating. And I think here's my 5 of Cups energy for you, because I think there's some sadness and some disappointment that people just don't, you feel like they don't get it, or they don't get you. And yet ultimately, do they need to? You know, because they're always coming at it from their own experience, their own lens, and really their own sort of prioritization of what's most important in that moment to them. So yes, there's some emotional kind of upheaval there, but I think there's also a lot of clearance that can take place. Now remember, with these retrogrades, we can often have people coming back from the past, and you may have this sense of like wanting to reconnect, wanting to reestablish, and then going ahead and doing it, and then it just sort of falling short of your expectations, and then wishing that you hadn't. And that's okay, it's just an experience, you know. We don't want to beat ourselves up about it, but I suppose I do just want to set your expectations that, you know, regardless of how much you've evolved and shifted and changed, like, people are all working at different speeds at the moment in their own pathways. And you know, again, I suppose it's a question of going back to think about how can I not react to this but still feel connected to the experience. So yeah, that's the big homework, not just for this month, I think ongoing. So let's take a look and see how these oracle cards want to reflect your main spread, Libra. We have a new moon in Gemini coming in right at the end of the month. We also have Venus, your natural ruler, coming into Taurus on the 28th. So a kind of auspicious time, actually, where I feel things start to make sense where they have felt previously a little bit clouded. And actually you're starting to have more enriching experiences, immersive experiences even. Now the mystic rose brings through compassion, devotion, humility, humanity, and grace. And you know, how we navigate the complexity of the dynamics that are playing out in our relationships, in our, you know, in our world, and all of the things that make up that life experience for us. You know, what is it teaching us right now? How do we find that sense of balance within and that sense of peace? Well, it means we have to let go, we have to forgive, we have to find ways to reach for the highest vibrational thought and energy. Toward the end of the month, I think you'll have that opportunity to do that. The Queen of Cups brings forth compassion and forgiveness. You might be needing to find that within yourself towards somebody. It might be hard, but the directive here, the invitation, if you like, is that you're going to free more within yourself by allowing that to move through you, and then really being able to harness that increase in that sort of emotive, high vibrational, unconditional love that will have had to have been activated because you did what you did, And then you get to channel that into things that are super meaningful for you. And you start to see some amazing experiences and opportunities unfold as a result of it. So keep that in mind, okay? You might be having to forgive or find compassion for somebody toward the end of the month. It might stick in your throat a little bit, but try and take the higher ground, and it will pay off very quickly, even from a karmic perspective. Okay, let's have a look and see what your Moonology card is. Okay, we have the full moon in Aries. Cool your emotions. All right, so look, I mean, there is an intensity playing out this month. Of course, that Scorpio full moon, you know, you'll be tired, you'll be wired, you'll feel forced or pushed or a bit harassed during that time. All of this Aries energy, and Venus, Jupiter, Mars is also going to be adding into the equation. And there is this sense of just like wanting to be left alone to get on with what's really important. I feel like there's some important things that you want to get done, and people are just not giving you the time, or constantly interrupting you, or trying to distract you onto things that feel to you shallow and meaningless and not important. But there's also a kind of completion of a cycle happening here, and a sort of release of some of the ways that you used to respond previously. And so there's an invitation here as well to kind of observe and be the witness of that. And I think you can make some really sound, balanced judgments, because I've got that Justice card coming in, that are going to help to temper that a little bit for you, yeah? So let's have a look at the colour cards for you. You have Auburn, ground yourself. All these sort of rich browns and oranges kind of shown a little bit in the full moon card as well here. But it is about sort of rooting things in. And in Taurus season, you know, we want to activate all the senses. We want to start to come into a place where we feel what we're thinking then has an inspired action, and we get to see the tangible, real result of it. It's not just about these abstract ideas that we've been, you know, sort of sitting with and contemplating. And so grounding yourself can be a really important part of the process of being able to actually feel inspired to what the next action should be. And in fact, if you are feeling like you just can't figure out the way forward or the solution, like we said, or you're trying to find a solution that's actually more about really progressing you, then focus first of all on your root chakra and on grounding your energy, because as soon as you do that, it's going to help just bring about a little bit more of a clear thinking energy, okay? And it'll pull you out of some of that retrograde haze a little bit as well. There's a little tip for you, you know, if you're ever really struggling to focus, if you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, I know it sounds a little strange, but if you do that, then it will just draw your energy and your focus right back into the moment. And that can be really helpful even during meditative practices or anything you're doing with your spiritual work, okay? All right, Libra, so this is a general reading. I'm going to go ahead and invite you to think about a personal question that might not have come up in the main spread, okay? We'll pull a couple of cards for this. Now, I have my own deck, Life Soul Vision Oracle, if you haven't already seen. And what I've done is at the end of this video, I've added on a little pick a card screen grab. And so you'll be able to see the full deck and just get an extra little bonus message. There's also links for how to go ahead and pre-order my deck in the description box. I can't wait to start using that with you. So please be sure to check that out. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and clarify this main reading. Now, if you're new to the channel, the extended reading, you can find the link in the description box for that. It's a way to support my channel and also to have another 20-25 minutes worth of insights into your May reading. It's a way for me to be able to continue to deliver all of the free content, so it makes a huge difference when you support me in that way, and I'm really grateful for those of you that do. Okay, 8 of Swords is coming through. 8 of Pentacles. I like all these 8s. They really bring this strong sense of mastery coming through this month for you, which I feel. 6 of Cups is showing up again here. We might also be revisiting some contracts or agreements, you know. That think's coming through quite strong. Coming to the end of something in that regard as well. There's Also a lot of wisdom coming through here. Kind of a lot of maturity. I think you're going to be showing an awful lot of maturity actually in your actions this month. Got another Three of Cups there, Five of Pentacles as well. Ace, nice. There's that going out on a limb is actually what's required to start to kind of reactivate the flow if something feels a bit stagnant. Devil showing up the Five of Cups, Ace of Cups, Ten of Swords, interesting. Let's just pull a couple more here. Page of Wands and the Eight of Cups. Okay, Libra, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and make sure you like and comment on the video if it's resonated. It really supports my work. If you're joining me for the extended, can't wait to continue this, and be sure to hold on and just check out your screen grab for Life Soul Vision Oracle. You take good care and have a beautiful month ahead.